Developing Algorithms with Arrays Part 4. In this video, we will demonstrate how to count the number of values in an array that satisfy a property. Consider the following program where we declare an array of integers. Suppose I want to count the number of even values in the array. The first step would be to declare an integer named count that we're going to use to help keep count of the number of values in the array that are even, and we're going to initialize it to 0. That's going to be our starting point. Then we're going to set up a for loop to prepare us to look at each value in the array from front to back in order. That means initializing our loop control variable to 0, looping until it reaches the length of the array, and increasing it by 1 every single time. Then inside the for loop, we're going to test each value to see if that value meets a certain property. We do that with an if statement. And then for our condition, we're testing to see if the value is even. We do that by checking if that number at index I modulus 2 equals 0. If a number modulus 2 equals 0, that means the number has no remainder when you divide it by 2, which means it's evenly divisible by 2, which means the number is even. So if the number at index I satisfies this property, we're going to increment the count variable, or in other words, we're going to increase it by 1. That's all we would need to do for our if statement, and that's all we would need to do for our for loop. Henceforth, once the for loop is done, all that's left to do is to print out the final value of count. Now, let's demonstrate how this for loop will operate on the array we see before us. We start with I is equal to 0. The value at index 0 is 4. Does 4 modulus 2 equal 0? Yes, it does, because it's even, so we increment the count variable. Next, I equals 1. Does 7 modulo 2 equal 0? No, it does not, so we do nothing. Next, I equals 2. Does 5 modulo 2 equal 0? No, it does not, so we do nothing. Next, I equals 3. Does 10 modulo 2 equal 0? Yes, it does, so we increment the count variable. Next, I equals 4. Does 15 modulo 2 equal 0? No, it does not, so we do nothing. Next, I equals 5. Does 8 modulo 2 equal 0? Yes, it does, so we increment the count variable. Next, I equals 6. Does 3 modulo 2 equal 0? No, it does not, so we do nothing, and that completes the for loop. All that's left to do now is to print out the final value of count, which is 3. There are 3 even values in our array.